The most dangerous creature in the known galaxy is not the Craxon Devourer with its 17 rows of teeth. It is not the Voidwalker Leviathan that consumes stars for breakfast. It is, in fact, a small, mostly hairless bipe that stands on 2 legs and has the audacity to call itself human. That's what Grand Historian Quizrak told us during my education cycle. We all buzzed our antennae in what you might call laughter. How could something so small and fragile be dangerous? The answer, as our colony would soon discover, was quite simple. Humans are absolutely, terrifyingly unpredictable. My name is Vaznik, senior observer of the Trizani Hive, and this is the story of how a single human conquered our world. It all started when the large metal vessel crash landed in the western dunes. Our scouts reported the wreckage immediately, and our supreme leader Gazorpax dispatched a research team to investigate. I was fortunate, or perhaps unfortunate, considering what followed to be selected as the lead scientist. Do not approach the vessel directly, Gazorpax had ordered, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly. Observe from a distance and report back. Of course, like any good scientist with more curiosity than common sense, I ignored those instructions completely. The human vessel was unlike anything we had seen before, angular with strange symbols painted on its hull. My team approached cautiously, our exoskeletons gleaming under the 3 suns of Trizani Prime. Vaznik, I am detecting life signs inside, my assistant Pleborp said, nervously clicking her mandibles. One signature. Faint but stable. Well, that's just great, I replied, scanning the wreckage. Supreme Leader Gazorpax is going to lose his antennae when he finds out we have an alien visitor. We set up a perimeter and waited. For 3 full rotations, nothing happened. Then, on the 4th rotation, as the smallest sun dipped below the horizon, the vessel's hatch burst open with a hiss of escaping air. And there it stood. The human. It was taller than I expected, about 2 Trizani stacked on top of each other. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a round head with patches of fur on top. Its skin was a pinkish-brown color, and it wore some kind of synthetic material over most of its body. Hello, it said, raising one of its upper limbs in what I later learned was a greeting gesture. I come in peace. I should mention that our translation devices had been studying human communication signals for years. We understood their primary languages reasonably well, though some concepts remained confusing. Greetings, human, I responded, stepping forward as the designated speaker. I am Vaznik of the Trizani Hive. You have crashed on our planet. The human's face contorted in a strange way. Later I would learn this was called a smile. Yeah, I noticed that. Thanks, it said. There was a peculiar inflection in its voice that our translators identified as sarcasm. Name's Jack Gordon. My ship malfunctioned during a routine scouting mission. Any chance you folks have a long-distance communicator I could borrow? The United Earth Fleet will probably want to know I'm not dead. We will consult with our Supreme Leader, I replied. For now, you must remain here under observation. Jack Gordon, the human, looked around at the barren landscape and the wreckage of his ship. Not like I'm going anywhere, he said, making that strange facial movement again. Mind if I grab my supplies? I permitted this, which in retrospect was my first mistake. We watched as the human retrieved several containers from the wreckage. At the time, we had no idea what these containers held. We would find out soon enough. We escorted Jack Gordon back to our colony, a sprawling network of tunnels and chambers carved into the rocky hills of Trizani Prime. Our people, having never seen a human before, reacted with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and in some cases aggression. Keep your mandibles to yourselves, Jack said as a group of younglings attempted to touch his strange outer coverings. I just had this uniform cleaned before the crash. Supreme Leader Gazorpax received us in the Grand Chamber, his massive form looming over us all. Even Jack Gordon, tall for our standards, looked small in comparison. So Gazorpax boomed, "This is the human." "Yes, Your Magnificence," I replied, lowering my antennae in respect. "This is Jack Gordon of Earth. Gazorpax repeated, the word sounding strange through his mandibles. We have heard of this planet. Your kind has spread across many star systems, human. Jack nodded. We get around. Look, I appreciate the welcome and all, but I really need to contact my people. They will be looking for me? Gazorpax made the chittering sound that indicated deep thought. The Council of Elders must discuss this matter. Until then, the human will be given quarters in the visitor's chamber. As we led Jack away, I heard Gazorpax mutter to his advisors, contact the military caste. We must prepare defenses in case more humans arrive. The visitor's chamber was actually a rarely used storage area hastily converted for Jack's use. It contained a platform that approximated what we thought might serve as a human resting area, along with some containers of water and nutritional paste. This is cozy, Jack said, looking around. Do you guys not believe in windows? Windows would compromise structural integrity, I explained. The chamber is secure and will provide adequate shelter. Jack sat on the platform and opened one of his containers. Inside were various items, including a small device that he activated with a touch. It projected images into the air star charts, diagrams, and what appeared to be texts in human language. What is that device? I asked, fascinated. Standard issue datapad, Jack replied. He has maps, survival guides, cultural databases, you name it. Even has some entertainment programs for when you are stuck on a boring outpost. He glanced up at me. No offense. None taken, I said, though I wasn't entirely sure what offense I should have taken. Our council will meet at the next rotation. Until then, you should rest. Sure thing, bug buddy, Jack said. I will just sit here and think about how spectacularly my day has gone. Over the next several rotations, I was assigned to observe the human and learn what I could. Jack Gordon proved to be a fascinating subject. He required fewer sleep cycles than our species, spent considerable time exercising his body in the confined space, and constantly asked questions about our society, technology, and biology. Biology. So let me get this straight, he said on the third day, while demonstrating something he called push-ups. Your entire civilization is divided into castes based on what job you do. It is more complicated than that, I explained. We are born into our castes, but our specific roles are determined by aptitude and training. Jack completed his exercise and sat up, wiping moisture from his face with a cloth. Sounds like a fancy way of saying you don't get to choose your own path. And humans do, I asked, genuinely curious. More or less, Jack replied. Some are born with advantages, some with challenges. But theoretically, anyone can become anything if they work hard enough. He paused. Or if they are really good at manipulating the system. This concept was foreign to us. The idea that one could change their predetermined role in society was disturbing. On the 7th rotation, I was summoned to the Council of Elders. They had reached a decision regarding our human visitor. The human represents a potential threat, Elder Krosnix declared. Our deep space monitors have detected no search vessels in our sector. Either his people do not know where to look, or they have abandoned him. What does this mean for the human? I asked. He will remain under observation, Supreme Leader Gazorpax stated. But he cannot be allowed to communicate with his kind. The location of Trizani Prime must remain secret from the human expansion. With respect, Your Magnificence, I ventured, Jack Gordon has been cooperative. Perhaps we could learn from him. Learn what? Scoffed Military Commander Braxis. How to be soft and vulnerable? Humans have no natural defenses. No claws, no exoskeleton, no venom. Yet they have conquered hundreds of worlds, Elder Zafira countered. There must be something that makes them formidable. Intelligence, I suggested. Adaptability. Jack Gordon has already begun learning our language without translation assistance. This caused a stir among the council members. Learning a new language voluntarily was almost unheard of in our society. We relied on technology for such tasks. Very well, Gazorpax finally said. The human may be integrated into limited areas of the colony for further study, but he is not to be given access to communication technology or transport vessels. When I informed Jack of the Council's decision, he displayed that facial expression, the smile, but it seemed different somehow, less genuine. "1. Great news," he said. "I get to be your science project instead of your prisoner, moving up in the world." "This is an opportunity, Jack Gordon," I said. "Few outsiders have ever been permitted to learn about our society. And few humans have been stranded on alien planets," Jack replied. "I guess we are both having new experiences." The integration of Jack Gordon into our colony was challenging. His physical needs were different from ours. He required more varied nutrition, different atmospheric conditions, and privacy for certain bodily functions. But he adapted quickly, and surprisingly, so did we. Jack was assigned to the agricultural caste as an observer and assistant. His knowledge of growing techniques from other worlds proved unexpectedly valuable. Within 20 rotations, he had introduced modifications to our hydroponic systems that increased yield by 12%, a significant improvement. "It's basic cross-pollination," Jack explained to a group of impressed agricultural workers. "You guys were keeping your plant species isolated, but sometimes a little mixing creates stronger offspring." This simple observation led to a complete reorganization of our agricultural methods. The food supplies increased, and Jack Gordon's status rose accordingly. "The human has proven useful," Supreme Leader Gazorpax admitted during one of our progress reports. "Perhaps there are other areas where his perspective might benefit us." And so began Jack Gordon's rise in Trizani society. First, he revolutionized our agriculture. Then, after being granted limited access to our engineering facilities, he pointed out inefficiencies in our power distribution systems. "You are losing about 30% of your energy in transmission," he told Chief Engineer Ziltrox. "On Earth, we solved this problem centuries ago with superconducting materials." "Our metals do not superconduct," Ziltrox replied dismissively. "No, but that blue crystal you use for decorative purposes?" Jack said. "That's practically identical to a material we call quantum lattice. With the right processing, it could triple your energy efficiency." Ziltrox was skeptical, but when tests proved Jack correct, his influence grew even further. By the 50th rotation, Jack Gordon had his own quarters, freedom to move through most areas of the colony, and a growing group of Trizani who looked to him for guidance. This last development was the most concerning to the military caste. "The human is disrupting our societal structure," Commander Braxis complained to the Council. "Workers are questioning traditional methods. Some are even suggesting they could perform tasks outside their caste designation. Is improved efficiency not desirable?" Elder Zafira asked. "Not at the cost of order," Braxis insisted. "Besides, we know nothing of humans' true intentions. This Jack Gordon could be preparing us for invasion." "There have been no signs of human vessels in our system," I pointed out. "And Jack has made no attempts to access restricted communication systems." What I didn't mention was that Jack had asked me numerous questions about our planetary defenses, disguised as casual conversation. And I had avoided answering directly, but his interest was notable. On the 70th rotation, an incident occurred that changed everything. A collapse in the eastern mining tunnel trapped 32 workers behind tons of rock and metal. Our traditional rescue methods would take too long. The trapped workers would run out of air. Jack Gordon volunteered to help. "I need access to your explosive storage," he told Commander Braxis, who had been put in charge of the rescue operation. "Absolutely not," Braxis replied. "You think we would give a human access to weapons?" "They are not weapons if you don't use them as weapons," Jack argued. "Look, I worked in mining colonies before joining the fleet. I know how to create a controlled blast that will clear the blockage without causing another collapse." After heated debate, Supreme Leader Gazorpax authorized Jack's plan. Under heavy guard, Jack accessed our explosives, modified them in ways our engineers found both brilliant and alarming, and successfully cleared a path to the trapped miners. All 32 were saved. Jack Gordon became a hero overnight. To Jack Gordon, the human who thinks like a Trizani but acts like a human, toasted Elder Zafira at the celebration feast. Jack raised his container of fermented nectar. To cooperation between species, he replied, and to learning from each other. I noticed Commander Braxis did not join in the toast. His compound eyes were fixed on Jack with what I can only describe as suspicion. The 100th rotation marked a significant milestone. Jack Gordon was officially granted the status of honorary Trizani and assigned as a special advisor to the Council of Elders. No outsider had ever achieved such a position. "I'm honored," Jack said during the ceremony, bowing in the traditional Trizani manner. "When I crashed on this planet, I thought I was doomed. Instead, I found friends." The crowd chittered with approval. Even some members of the military caste seemed won over. Later that night, I found Jack standing alone on one of the observation platforms, looking up at the stars. "Do you still think of Earth?" I asked, joining him. "Every day," he admitted. "My family, my friends, they probably think I'm dead by now." "The Council might reconsider allowing you to send a message," I suggested. Jack turned to me, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "Maybe. But I'm not sure that would be best for anyone right now." "What do you mean?" He gestured to the colony spread out below us. "I'm making a difference here, Vaznik. Your people are starting to think differently, to question traditions that have held them back. If the fleet came to rescue me, all that progress might stop. Or your people might help us advance further," I countered. Jack's mouth formed a thin line. "Not all humans are like me, Vaznik. Some see different species as resources to be exploited, not partners." I felt a chill run through my exoskeleton. "Are you warning me?" "Just being honest," Jack said. "For now, maybe it's better if Trizani Prime remains hidden from Earth." This conversation troubled me deeply, but before I could report it to Supreme Leader Gazorpax, disaster struck. A virulent fungal infection broke out in the southern agricultural chambers, threatening our entire food supply. Our medical experts were baffled. Nothing in our records matched this aggressive pathogen. "It's attacking the root systems first," Jack observed, examining infected samples in our laboratory. "Then it spreads to the fruiting bodies." "Can you identify it?" I asked desperately. Jack hesitated. "It looks similar to something we encountered on Proxima Colony. We called it the Red Death because of how it turned crops crimson before killing them." "Did you find a cure?" Elder Zafira asked. "Yes," Jack said slowly, "but the treatment requires specific compounds that I'm not sure exist on your planet." "What compounds?" I demanded. Jack listed several chemical formulas, most of which meant nothing to us. But one caught the attention of our chemists. "This substance is similar to the secretions of the grand borer beetle in the Northern Territories," Chief Chemist Plink said. "But those territories are controlled by the Vex Horde. We have been at war with them for generations." Commander Braxis laughed bitterly. "How convenient. The human solution requires us to expose ourselves to our greatest enemies." "People will starve without those crops," Jack argued. "Perhaps that is what you intended all along," Braxis accused. "Perhaps you created this fungus to weaken us." The council chamber erupted in angry chittering. Supreme Leader Gazorpax had to pound his ceremonial staff repeatedly to restore order. "These accusations are serious, Commander Braxis," Gazorpax said. "Do you have evidence?" "Only the suspicious timing," Braxis admitted, "and the human's convenient knowledge of both the disease and its cure." All eyes turned to Jack Gordon, who stood unflinching under their gaze. "I didn't create this fungus," he stated firmly. "But I recognize it because humans have faced it before. If you want proof of my innocence, I will lead the expedition to the Northern Territories myself." This declaration silenced the chamber. "You would risk your life to help us?" Elder Zafira asked. "You have given me a home when I had none," Jack replied. "I will do whatever it takes to protect it." And so, against Commander Braxis's objections, an expedition was organized. Jack Gordon, myself, and a small contingent of military caste warriors would venture into Vex Horde territory to obtain the beetle secretions. As we prepared for departure, I found Jack checking the survival gear we would carry. "Jack," I said quietly, "if we encounter the Vex Horde, what will you do?" He looked up, his eyes narrowed slightly. "Whatever's necessary to complete the mission and get our people home safely." "Our people," I repeated. "You truly see yourself as one of us now?" Jack secured the last of the equipment and straightened up. "I have spent over 100 rotations on this planet, Vosnik. That's longer than I have spent anywhere since leaving Earth. So yeah, in some ways I do." He paused, then added, "But I'm still human, and humans don't forget where they came from." With those cryptic words, we departed for the Northern Territories, unknowingly setting in motion events that would change Trizani Prime forever. The journey to the Northern Territories was treacherous. Our transport vessel skimmed low over the rust-colored plains, avoiding detection by Vex Horde patrols. Jack Gordon sat at the front, studying maps of the region with an intensity that both impressed and unnerved me. "The beetle colonies should be located in these canyons," I explained, pointing to a series of jagged lines on the display. "But Vex outposts surround the entire area." Jack nodded, his face set in what I had come to recognize as his problem-solving expression. "What's our intel on Vex patrol patterns?" Commander Braxis, who had insisted on joining the expedition despite his misgivings about Jack, clicked his mandibles irritably. "Our scouts report 3-hour rotation cycles. Heavy armor, sonic weapons." "Sonic weapons?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "Interesting choice." "They disrupt our neural pathways," I explained. "One blast can paralyze a Trizani for hours." "But I'm not Trizani," Jack said with that not quite genuine smile. "My nervous system is different." Braxis leaned forward. "Are you suggesting you'd be immune?" "Not immune," Jack clarified, "but probably less affected, which could be useful if things go sideways." The commander's compound eyes narrowed. "Let's hope they don't." As nightfall descended, our 3 suns setting in rapid succession, we landed the transport in a concealed ravine and continued on foot. The terrain grew increasingly rocky, with strange, twisted formations that looked like frozen tentacles reaching toward the sky. "These formations," Jack whispered as we moved through the shadows. "What created them?" "Ancient volcanic activity," I replied. "The legends say they are the fingers of Moxnar, the buried god, trying to claw his way back to the surface." Jack snorted quietly. "Every planet has these stories. On Earth we have tales of sea monsters and underground civilizations. Do you not believe in such things?" I asked, genuinely curious about human beliefs. "I believe the universe is stranger than we can imagine," Jack said. "But I trust what I can see and touch more than ancient legends." We fell silent as we approached the first Vex outpost. Unlike our chitinous, insectoid forms, the Vex resembled what Jack described as walking squids, tall, tentacled beings with bioluminescent organs that pulsed in hypnotic patterns along their bodies. "4 guards," Braxis whispered. "Heavy armor. We will need to go around." Jack studied the outpost through a viewing device. "Wait, look at their movement. They are sluggish, disoriented." I observed more carefully and realized he was right. The Vex guards were moving erratically, their tentacles twitching sporadically. "Something's affecting them," I said. "Perhaps atmospheric conditions?" Jack shook his head. "No, look at the ground around the outpost." He pointed to patches of reddish growth barely visible in the dim light. "That's our fungus. It's here too." This revelation stunned us all. The same pathogen destroying our crops was present in Vex territory. "But this changes everything," Braxis hissed. "If the Vex are infected, they may be desperate enough to launch a full-scale attack on our territory. Or," Jack suggested, "they might be willing to cooperate to find a cure." Braxis made the chittering sound that indicated disbelief. "Cooperate? With our ancient enemies?" Impossible. Necessity makes strange bedfellows, Jack said, using a human expression our translators struggled with. If they are facing the same threat we are, we have common ground. The Vex do not negotiate, Braxis insisted. They conquer or destroy. So I have heard, Jack replied, his voice taking on a harder edge. Sounds familiar. Before we could debate further, a patrol of Vex warriors emerged from behind a rock formation, cutting off our retreat. Their bioluminescent organs flashed rapidly. What we later learned was their alarm signal, and they raised their sonic weapons. "Nobody move," Jack whispered. Then, to our horror, he stood up, hands raised. "What are you doing?" I hissed. "Improvising," Jack replied, then called out in a loud, clear voice, "We come seeking dialogue. We face a common threat." The Vex response was immediate. A sonic blast hit the ground near Jack's feet, sending vibrations through the earth that made my exoskeleton rattle painfully. Our warriors doubled over in agony, their neural pathways disrupted. But Jack remained standing. As he had predicted, the sonic weapon affected him less severely. "We know about the red fungus," he shouted. "We know it's killing your resources too. We can help each other." There was a moment of tense silence. Then the lead Vex warrior stepped forward. Up close, they were even more intimidating, nearly 3 times Jack's height, with tentacles that could crush a Trizani exoskeleton with minimal effort. The Vex leader made a series of clicking, gurgling sounds, and our translation devices struggled to interpret, but the message became clear: follow. Resistance means death. We were taken to a massive Vex fortress carved into the side of a mountain. Unlike our underground colonies, Vex structures reached toward the sky, with spiraling towers and pulsating light sources. Inside, we saw the full extent of the fungal infection. What had started in agricultural areas had spread to living quarters and even some Vex themselves, with reddish growths visible on their tentacles. We were brought before Overlord Xanthrax, the ruler of this Vex territory. Unlike the warriors, Xanthrax had additional tentacle arrays and a larger bioluminescent organ that dominated its upper body. Trizani, Xanthrax gurgled through our translators. "You invade our territory during a crisis. This demands punishment." Jack stepped forward before any of us could respond. "Overlord Xanthrax, I am not Trizani. I am human from a distant world. We come because the same crisis affects both our peoples." Xanthrax's tentacles writhed with what might have been curiosity. "Human? We have not encountered your kind before." "Lucky you," Jack muttered under his breath, then continued louder. "The red fungus destroying your resources originated on human-colonized worlds. We developed treatments that might work here." This caught Xanthrax's attention. "You have a cure?" "We know of a potential treatment," Jack corrected. "It requires secretions from the grand borer beetle that lives in your territory." Xanthrax made a sound our translators couldn't interpret, but which seemed derisive. "The sacred crawler is not to be harvested. Its fluids are reserved for religious ceremonies." Jack's shoulders slumped slightly, but his voice remained firm. "With respect, Overlord, if the fungus continues to spread, there won't be any Vex left to perform ceremonies." "Blasphemy," shrieked a smaller Vex that stood nearby, adorned with elaborate decorations. "The sacred crawler is protected by divine mandate." "Divine mandate won't stop your people from starving," Jack countered. "Or protect them when the fungus starts growing on living tissue." This statement caused visible alarm among the Vex Council. Apparently, the infection of living Vex was not yet widely known. "You speak of horrors that have not occurred," Xanthrax said, but with less certainty. Jack turned to me. "Vaznik, show them the progression models." I activated the portable projector we had brought, displaying the data our scientists had compiled. The images showed the fungal growth patterns, projected infection rates, and the grim prognosis: total agricultural collapse within 30 rotations, followed by the infection of living beings. "The same pattern occurred on 3 human worlds," Jack explained. "The fungus starts in the soil, moves to plants, then to animals, then to intelligent life forms. Without treatment, it doesn't stop until everything is dead. A heavy silence fell over the Vex Council chamber. Finally, Xanthrax spoke. If what you say is true, human, then we face extinction. Not if we work together, Jack insisted. The beetle secretion, combined with compounds from Trizani territory, can create an effective fungicide. We have done it before. The religious Vex made another protest, but Xanthrax silenced it with a gesture. Extinction outweighs tradition. You will have access to the sacred crawler, but under strict supervision. And so began one of the strangest alliances in the history of Trizani Prime. Vex and Trizani, ancient enemies, working side by side under the guidance of a human from beyond the stars. Jack organized teams to collect the beetle secretions, process them according to his specifications, and begin treating the infected areas. The work was dangerous. Exposure to concentrated fungal spores could cause respiratory failure in both Vex and Trizani, but Jack seemed immune, another quirk of his alien biology that proved invaluable. After 10 exhausting rotations, we had produced enough of the treatment to begin large-scale application. The results were immediately promising. The fungus receded from treated areas, allowing crops to recover and preventing further spread. As we prepared to return to Trizani territory with our share of the fungicide, Overlord Xanthrax requested a private audience with Jack. I accompanied him as his translator, though Jack had become remarkably proficient in both Trizani and Vex languages. Human, Xanthrax said, tentacles moving in what we had learned was a gesture of respect. You have saved my people from a terrible fate. The Vex do not forget such debts. I did what anyone would do, Jack replied modestly. No, Xanthrax insisted. What you did required vision beyond traditional boundaries. You Vex, and certainly no Trizani, would have sought cooperation between our species. Jack smiled. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see the obvious solution. Indeed. Xanthrax's bioluminescent organ pulsed thoughtfully. Which leads me to propose something unprecedented. The Vex Horde offers you, Jack Gordon, the position of interspecies liaison. You would serve as mediator between Vex and Trizani, with the authority to speak for Vex interests. I couldn't hide my shock. Such a position had never existed, and for it to be offered to an alien was unthinkable. Jack seemed equally surprised. I'm honored, Overlord Xanthrax, but I'm not sure the Trizani would accept such an arrangement. They will, Xanthrax said with certainty. Because we will make it a condition of our continued cooperation in fighting the fungus, and because you have proven your value to both our peoples. When we returned to Trizani territory with both the fungicide and Xanthrax's unprecedented proposal, the reaction was predictably mixed. Commander Braxis and the military caste were vehemently opposed. But this is absurd. Braxis raged before the Council of Elders. Giving a human authority to speak for Trizani interests? It violates every tradition we hold sacred. The Vex were willing to violate their traditions to save their people, Elder Zafira pointed out. Perhaps we should show similar wisdom. Supreme Leader Gazorpax, who had final authority, remained silent for a long time, his 6 eyes blinking in the pattern that indicated deep contemplation. Jack Gordon, he finally said, you have brought us a cure for the fungus. You have achieved what generations of Trizani diplomats could not, peaceful contact with the Vex Horde. Yet Commander Braxis raises valid concerns about tradition and sovereignty. Jack nodded respectfully. I understand those concerns, Your Magnificence. And I'm not asking to replace Trizani authority only to serve as a bridge between species that have more in common than they realize. And if we refuse? Gazorpax asked. Then I will continue serving the Trizani in whatever capacity you deem appropriate, Jack replied. My loyalty is to the people who gave me a home when I had none. This answer seemed to please Gazorpax. Very well. We will create a new position, Ambassador of Interspecies Relations. You will report directly to the Council of Elders and will have authority to negotiate with the Vex, subject to our approval. And so Jack Gordon, the stranded human, became the first ambassador of interspecies relations on Trizani Prime. Over the next 100 rotations, he transformed the relationship between Trizani and Vex from bitter enemies to cautious allies. Trade routes opened between territories. Cultural exchanges began tentatively at first, then with increasing enthusiasm. Scientific knowledge was shared, leading to advancements that benefited both species. Jack's influence grew beyond diplomatic circles. His human perspective challenged traditional Trizani thinking in ways that sparked innovation across castes. The rigid caste system itself began to evolve, with individuals increasingly assigned roles based on ability rather than birth. Not everyone embraced these changes. Commander Braxis and a faction of traditionalists viewed Jack's growing power with alarm. They saw the blending of cultures and the relaxation of caste restrictions as threats to Trizani identity. "The human is remaking our society in Earth's image," Braxis warned during a closed council session that I attended as Jack's assistant. "Soon there will be nothing left of true Trizani culture. Adaptation is not erasure." Elder Zafira countered. "Our people are thriving as never before. Food production has increased 40%. Energy efficiency has doubled. Infant mortality has decreased by 30%. At what cost?" Braxis demanded. "Our traditions? Our identity? Our independence?" The debate might have continued indefinitely if not for what we later called the Great Discovery. During a routine expedition to establish new agricultural zones in the neutral territory between Trizani and Vex lands, Jack's survey team uncovered something extraordinary: the ruins of an advanced civilization buried beneath the sands for countless generations. The architecture was unlike anything seen on Trizani Prime before, neither Vex nor Trizani, but something altogether different. Strange symbols covered walls made of materials our scientists couldn't identify. Energy sources still functioned after what must have been thousands of years. "This changes everything," Jack whispered, as we explored the vast underground complex. "This civilization had technology far beyond what either Trizani or Vex have achieved." The discovery quickly overshadowed all other concerns. Both Trizani and Vex scholars descended on the site, eager to unlock its secrets. Jack, with his unique perspective, became central to the research effort. "These symbols resemble mathematical equations," he noted, studying the walls. "But the base system isn't decimal or binary. It's something else entirely." Over the next 50 rotations, Jack led teams in deciphering the ancient language. What they uncovered was staggering. The ruins belonged to a species called the Kavari, who had inhabited Trizani Prime millions of years before either Trizani or Vex evolved intelligence. The Kavari had achieved interstellar travel, mastered energy manipulation, and even begun experiments in dimensional physics. But they had vanished suddenly, leaving their magnificent technology intact. "They didn't die out," Jack explained during a joint presentation to Trizani and Vex leaders. "According to these records, they evolved beyond physical form. They became beings of pure energy and left this planet, this dimension behind. The implications were profound. The technology the Kavari left behind could transform life on Trizani Prime. But it also presented a challenge. Who would control it?" Predictably, tensions flared between Trizani and Vex authorities. Both claimed ownership of the ruins and the technology within. The fragile alliance Jack had built threatened to collapse into renewed hostility. In this moment of crisis, Jack Gordon made his boldest move yet. "Neither Trizani nor Vex can claim exclusive rights to Kavari technology," he declared before a joint assembly. "It belongs to the planet itself, to all intelligent species that call Trizani Prime home." His proposal was revolutionary: create a new governing body, the Planetary Council, with equal representation from Trizani, Vex, and any other sentient species discovered on the planet. This council would oversee the research and implementation of Kavari technology for the benefit of all. "This is outrageous," Commander Braxis shouted. "Trizani have lived on this planet for countless generations. Our claim is superior." The Vex Horde conquered these territories fairly, a Vex representative countered. The spoils belong to the victors. Jack waited for the uproar to subside, then spoke quietly but firmly. The Kavari left this technology for whoever came after them. They were wise enough to transcend physical existence. Are we wise enough to transcend our petty conflicts? The debate raged for days. In the end, it was Supreme Leader Gazorpax who cast the deciding vote. Jack Gordon has shown us a vision of cooperation that has already yielded benefits beyond measure, Gazorpax declared. I vote in favor of the Planetary Council. With Trizani's support secured, the Vex overlord Xanthrax reluctantly agreed. The human's wisdom has been proven repeatedly, Xanthrax conceded. The Vex Horde will join this Planetary Council. And so, 300 rotations after crash landing on Trizani Prime, Jack Gordon became the first chairperson of the Planetary Council, effectively the leader of the entire world. This isn't what I intended, Jack confessed to me the night after his appointment. We stood on a balcony overlooking the newly established capital city, built around the Kavari ruins and populated by both Trizani and Vex citizens. Yet it seems fitting, I replied. You united two species that had been at war for generations. You discovered the greatest archaeological treasure in our planet's history. Who better to lead us forward? Jack gazed up at the stars, his expression unreadable. Do you know what's ironic, Vaznik? On Earth, I was nobody special. A mid-level scout with average evaluations. If my ship hadn't malfunctioned, I would have completed my mission and returned to Earth without anyone noticing. Perhaps that's why you ended up here, I suggested. The universe has its own logic. Jack laughed. Now you sound like Elder Zafira. His expression grew serious again. The Kavari technology includes advanced communication systems. We could contact Earth now if we wanted to. This revelation startled me. Will you? Jack was silent for a long moment. Not yet, he finally said. Earth has its own path. Trizani Prime has found a different one, a better one, I think. I want to see where it leads. As the three suns rose on a new day, painting the sky in brilliant hues of purple and gold, I reflected on the strange journey that had brought us here. A single human abandoned on an alien world had transformed an entire planet not through conquest by force, but through ideas, cooperation, and vision. Grand historian Quizrak had been right all along. Humans truly were the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but not for the reasons we had imagined. Their danger lay not in teeth or claws or weapons, but in their ability to inspire change, to see possibilities where others saw only traditions, and to unite what had always been divided. Jack Gordon conquered Trizani Prime. But he did it without firing a shot. You know, Jack said, interrupting my thoughts, someday your people will write the history of this time. What will they say about the human who fell from the stars? I considered this question carefully. They will say that sometimes the greatest conqueror is the one who shows us how to conquer ourselves. Jack smiled a genuine smile this time. I can live with that. And as we stood together watching the city awaken, I knew that the true conquest had only just begun.